What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and this is Question and Answer Season 2, Episode 1. We are back.
I tell the good jokes.
All right, everybody. I made 15 of these videos last year. I'll throw a link up there if you want to check those out. We never seem to have enough time to answer all the questions, and this first episode is another situation just like that. Tons of great questions. Not going to be able to answer them all. Maybe I'll save some for next week. If I didn't answer your question and you think like it's a valid question, ask me again next week or wait around. Maybe I'll answer it next week. Anyway, let's get into it. Right off the bat, John Boatwright wants to know, will there be a Bad Mother Goose reunion? And sadly, there will not be. And I can say that with a lot of certainty because I'm probably one of the people that are like, nah, we ain't doing that. That was great, tons of fun, but that was a different chapter of my life, and I don't think I could do it right now. Anyway, so that's the sad answer. No more Bad Mother Goose. It's over. It's the past. But I do have a video that has been hidden for a long time, like 30 years. I'm gonna throw that up on my other channel here in the very near future. You should check that out. It features two things that I don't think have ever been put together before or since in a music video, and that's fly fishing and rapping. Yep, 30 years ago, fly fishing and rapping. Bad Mother Goose. So keep an eye out for that. Moving on, Chase Rogers wants to know, Trash Bash this year. And yes, we will be having a Trash Bash this year. If you don't know what the Trash Bash is, that is our annual, hopefully annual cleanup event that we sponsor, All Water Guides and a bunch of other great companies here in Central Texas on the lower Colorado River downstream of Austin. First couple years we did the first 20 miles. The last one we did the first 40 miles. Grand total so far, it looks like we've pulled out around 30 tons of trash from the river downstream of Austin. It's a great event. It's a lot of fun, and the date for 2022 is November 12th. That's a Saturday, so put that on your calendar. More than likely it's not gonna change, but if you sign up early, if anything changes, we'll let you know. So thanks for that question, Chase. One more music related question that comes from Matt Baker. Is a two-part question. I'm gonna answer part one. Part two, I'm gonna have to think about. So part one is, how are punk rock / hardcore and fly fishing related? Part two is, who would make a better fly fisherman in the pantheon of great punk rock hardcore folk? So I'm gonna have to think about that second part. But the first part, I'm gonna say that punk rock / hardcore and fly fishing are related, for me anyway, in that they are sort of both kind of DIY type of pursuits. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you have to learn on your own. It is not like a really, it is established, but there's a lot of things about the world of fly fishing that people are sort of making it up as we go along. It is sort of a different thing, sort of out there. It's not like totally mainstream in the world of fishing. And so I think that that is one of the things that fly fishing and punk rock / hardcore have in common. And also it is really varied, you know, so the music scene, especially when I was into it, encompassed a lot of different types of music under that punk rock banner, and I think fly fishing is the same way. So you've got everything from hardcore carpers to hardcore saltwater fly fishermen, folks that are happy catching, you know, 4-inch perch or sunfish or trout, to folks who are fly fishing for bluefin tuna and marlin and sailfish. So that's how I think the two are sort of related. If you got different ideas about that, definitely throw them in the comments. I think this is something that we could probably discuss quite a bit. Next question is from Gavin Johnson, and he wants to know, what's your favorite Central Texas river based on variety of species? I think there's no secret. My favorite Central Texas river is gonna be the Colorado River. It's the biggest river. It's kind of the life of Central Texas, you know, both as far as fishing goes and, you know, drinking water and, you know, all kinds of other things. The whole chain of the Colorado River includes all the Highland Lakes. But for me specifically, I'm gonna say the Colorado River downstream of Austin, probably that first 100 miles. That's where I'm fishing most of the time. If I'm river fishing, that's probably where I'm at. We've got bass, we've got panfish, we've got catfish, we've got carp, we've got gar, we've got drum, we've got buffaloes. There's all kinds of fish that can be caught on the fly in the Colorado River. It's a bigger river, not a lot of traffic on it, and it's a year-round fishery. So that's probably why it's my favorite in Central Texas. Although we've got tons of great rivers in Central Texas, so I'm sure everybody's gonna have their favorites, but that's my favorite. Thanks for the question. Mike Sullivan wants to know, for tying clousers for river smallmouth, what colors do you like? Now, I don't do a lot of smallmouth fishing specifically. I do a lot of river bass fishing, so I'm just gonna go with that. We do have smallmouth in a few of the streams in Texas, Central Texas, where I'm fishing. We have Guadalupe bass in most of them, and they're pretty similar to smallmouth. If I was gonna tie a clouser in one color, it would be a chartreuse and white. If I was gonna do a clouser in two colors, I would be confused. So chartreuse and white is definitely my go-to. Then after that, maybe say like a tan and white, or olive and white, or gray and white. But yeah, chartreuse and white is a go-to. After that, sort of a toss-up. I hope that helped. Thanks for the question. Simpson941 has another music-related question. This was the last one for this episode, but this was a good one. Was Bad Mother Goose ever on a Thrasher skate rock compilation? I can't remember where I heard you guys before. And yes, we were on at least one Thrasher skate rock compilation. I don't remember which song it was. I don't remember which compilation it was, but we were definitely on one of those Thrasher skate rock compilations. And I believe we were in a Thrasher magazine ad for the skate rock compilation. Thanks for the question. And let's go back to the fly fishing questions. Here's a good one. From E. Schultz 02, do you pack a Wag Bag? Now, this is not specifically a fly fishing question, but this is an outdoor question. And if you don't know what a Wag Bag is, it's a bag that is designed for you to pull over on the side of the river or wherever and go number 2 in the bag. And some places like Colorado, it is required equipment on a boat. They can pull you over and check you. If you don't have a Wag Bag, they can write you a citation. It is not required in Texas, and even though I do have at least one in my first aid kit, we never use them. Most of our rivers are not nearly as well used as the rivers in Colorado, so it's not like there's multiple boats pulling over at the same spots every day for people to go use the facilities. We're a lot more spread out, and a lot of our river fishing, at least the stuff that I do, we're in the jet boat. So if we need to find a place, you know, a good place to go use a restroom, we can fire the boat up a lot of times and go back to the boat ramp or a park or something like that. So haven't had to use the Wag Bag, but I do have one, and it's probably a good idea to have something like that on your boat. Check it out. Thanks for the question. All right, B. Prokoski. I can never get it right. Brian P. We're gonna go with. Brian wants to know, how often do you sharpen your hooks, and do you run barbless? I don't sharpen my hooks nearly enough. I do run barbless, and a lot of times when I'm tying the flies, if I'm using some cheaper hooks that aren't super sharp, I will sharpen the hooks when I tie the fly. I don't even know where my hook sharpener is. That is definitely something I should be a little bit more aware of, keeping my hooks sharp. But man, yeah, I ain't perfect. If I was, I would sharpen those hooks. So thanks for the question, and thanks for the heads up. I'm gonna find my hook sharpener and start sharpening those hooks more often. Thanks, Brian. Okay, so Stickman97 wants to know, for bass flies, what makes you decide what color to throw to start off with? Watercolor, weather conditions, or what you feel like / gut feeling? I'm gonna say probably watercolor would determine the color of the fly more than anything else. So typically in clear water, we go with lighter colors, you know, chartreuse, white, stuff like that. And then in darker water, or lower light conditions, we'll go with darker colors, so like blacks and purples. That's kind of a generic go-to for most people, but you never know. Sometimes you have to mix it up. Sometimes on a bright sunny day, if the normal stuff's not working, we may throw on a black fly or a purple fly, and for whatever reason, the fish will like that. So I don't like to just completely get stuck in a pattern, especially if it's not working. So yeah, just, go for it. Gut feeling. Thanks for the question. Okay, so Pecan Valley Fishing wants to know, how do sink tips work? Do I add it to the end of my floating fly line? Do I add a sink tip to a running line? And yes, you can do both of those. If you don't really need to get it real deep, probably the easiest, one of the most common ways is to just use a sinking leader. So it's a weighted leader that you're looping on to the end of your fly line. And if you just need to get the fly down a couple of feet, that's gonna be the fastest and easiest way to do it. During the winter, when we're fishing on the Colorado River and we really need to get flies down deep, we tend to go with an actual sink tip fly line. And sinking tip fly lines are just endless amount of possibilities, variations. But typically we'll go with something between a 5 and a 15-foot sink tip, and using a fairly fast sink rate to help get the flies down. So if I'm using a sinking tip fly line, I'm probably wanting to get the fly as close to the bottom as I can. So I'm gonna go with a fast sink rate. But if you just need to get it down a little ways, or if you just wanna kind of check out the sinking tip scene, nothing wrong with looping on a sinking leader to the end of your floating fly line. Thanks for the question and good luck. All right, so Craig Richardson sent me this question. This is a good one. He says, I am an experienced angler in both fresh and saltwater. I've been fishing for many years and have owned several boats. I've always used conventional gear, but I would like to get into fly fishing. What is your advice as the best way to get started? Now, the best way, or probably the easiest, is the internet, YouTube. There's tons of videos on every aspect of fly fishing, so I would start there. If you prefer to read articles, there's plenty of articles on the internet, and there's several great fly fishing magazines. The next thing maybe would be reaching out and seeing if there is a local fly fishing club, because those are great sources of, kind of beginner information and also really good local information. Most of the fly fishing clubs will have monthly outings where they'll go fishing somewhere local, and there's always somebody there to help the beginners out. Now, if you really want to fast track it and you can afford to spend a little bit more money, you might think about hiring a guide. So go out with somebody who fishes your area, an area that you want to fish, and just tell them like, hey, I'm a total newbie. I need to figure out how to do this with a fly rod. I can fish with conventional tackle. And what you'll find out is if you can catch fish on conventional tackle, the fly fishing is not really that big of a mystery. The main thing is just the cast, so getting the fly out there. So I would suggest, even if you hire a guide, get you some gear and do a little bit of practicing with your cast and get out there on the water. And, at the end of the day, it's just fishing. Anyway, thanks for the question and good luck. All right, so as usual, we have run out of time. I guess time's unlimited, but I don't want to make the video be like 30 minutes long. So anyway, one more question. And this one is from NARB 2007. And I like this question. This one is, what's your non-fishing life like? Into films, podcasts, cooking, board games, etc. And if this is strictly fishing, when and where and how do you first learn to row? And what was it like to add it on top of fishing? Okay, so what's my non-fishing life like? I spend a lot of time making YouTube videos. I am a fan of podcasts. If I had to pick one podcast to listen to, and this is not fishing related at all, I would probably pick the Tim Ferriss podcast, even though my good friend Leo is gonna say I just threw up in my mouth. He listens to Tim Ferriss as well, but he's not as big a fan as I am. He's great. He's got some really amazing topics on all kinds of different stuff, but it's mostly related to being excellent at whatever you do. That's the way I'll boil it down for you. Beyond that, I wish I cooked more. My wife is a great cook. When I was single and I didn't have anybody else to cook for, I cooked quite a bit. Board games, not so much. I wish I was. Board games are fun with the kids, but for some reason, board games, video games, none of that stuff really holds my attention for very long, unfortunately. And, as far as, films, movies, TV, it's mostly stuff that the kids can watch. So that's kind of one of our things. We'll sit down at dinner and watch a show with the kids. So that's where most of my TV and film comes from is kids stuff. Occasionally we'll all get together and go to a movie, but once again, it's a kids movie. So yeah, so that's where I'm at when it comes to films and TV. Now, the second part of your question, you were asking about rowing, and I don't really remember exactly when I started rowing. I do remember my first raft, and before that I was rowing a canoe, paddling the canoe, I guess. But I started rowing, I just bought a raft and just got out there on the water and started rowing. I did take a raft certification course in Colorado. You have to do that in order to guide whitewater trips, float trips in Colorado. You do have to do a raft certification. And I'd been rowing probably at 10 years by that time, but I did learn some stuff. I hadn't rowed a lot on big whitewater, so that was definitely helpful. I didn't try to row and fish for a while, which is funny. I always had somebody else in the boat, but lately I noticed I fish and row solo quite a bit, and it is a totally different thing. Now, I'm gonna say it's easier than fishing out of a kayak. I am terrible at fishing out of a kayak. I can fish out of a raft or a drift boat or even my skiff solo a lot better than I can out of the kayak. It takes a lot of patience. It is sometimes not worth the effort, especially on a windy day. If it's windy and I'm thinking about going out solo, I really try hard to talk myself out of it, but occasionally I will still do it. And it's a good thing to sort of practice my being patient and not getting frustrated. Once again, like I said, way too many questions to answer in one video, so hopefully we'll do it again next week. And like I said, if you want to check out the 15 videos I did last year, I'll put a link up there. I'll put a link in description. I want to thank everybody for asking questions. I want to thank everybody for watching the video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and in the meantime, good luck on the water.